Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Rockwood number 593 BSP. The 593 is a roller latch from Rockwood. This is the type that integrates the stop and is a very typical and common roller latch. You see it all the time. And it is in the BSP finish, which is black suede powder coat, is what it is. This is going to include a strike, as seen here. Okay, and it will include fasteners. You'll need a total of 4, 2 for the strike, 2 smaller ones, the combination screws, and then 2 for the body itself, and a black painted finish. So BSP, black suede powder coat, is a relatively new, last couple of years, the year's 2020 now, popular color. However, historically, it's a very common color. If you looked at catalogs from the early 20th century, black would be considered a very standard finish. This is an adjustable roller latch. You've got these 2 sets of springs that are down here that will allow you to not only control the projection of the roller, which therefore will have a relationship to the amount of force it takes to pull open and push close the door, but also will be able to compress when you push the door closed. So as you move those screws, you'll tailor that projection, but the other set of springs will allow that to be depressed, as the strike is pushed over that heavy-duty roller that's there. A couple of inserted Rockwood part number 608 is what those silencers are. And where would you use this type of roller latch that has a stop? Well, it's clearly for a single door because it has just one strike. But you would use this in applications where you do not have an applied stop. And that type of application, and it's not, I don't know that it's the case on this client's project. Let me look at the rest of the hardware set. He has offset pivots, mortise locks, these roller latches. Oh, okay, I see it now. There are center hung and offset pivots on this project. So these are clearly going to work with the center hung pivots as I'm looking at the hardware set on another screen. So that makes perfect sense. Meaning there are center hung pivots. That's the type of pivot that is pretty concealed in the door. There's a top and a bottom, and they're mortised down into the center of the thickness of the door, and they inherently will double act. Should the door and frame conspire to permit that to happen, that hardware will permit a door to go in and out. Well, in this instance, they don't want them to double act, but because it's center hung, they can't use a traditional stop on the frame because of where that vertical axis of pivoting is down in the center of the door, because part of that door when it opens is going to would hit the frame. But they need a means by which to prevent the door from swinging in the wrong direction, and that's where a 593 will come in. So seeing that there are center hung pivots here makes perfect sense. 3 things go together: center hung pivots, a Rockwood 593, and usually a mortised edge pull. And what are they doing for an edge pull here? I only see mortise locks, which would be perfectly acceptable. You could have a typical Rockwood sister company, Yale. They have some 8805s going on these doors, apparently. And I can see by the lock that we've ordered, they have ordered the lock with a longer cylinder. So the door is 1 3/4 inches. On this project, they are applying 1/2 inch and 1 inch thick material on different doors. Some of them have 1 inch applied panels, others have 1/2 inch. So in this instance, I believe this is a 1/2 inch applied panel. The mortise lock has been ordered where the lock is extended unequally. That 1/2 inch panel is going over an 1 3/4 inch thick door. 1/2 inch panel. Well, you have a 2 1/4 inch thick door at this point. There's no way around that. So you're going to specify it at 2 1/4, but you have to tell them extended unequally, meaning you're going to center that lock body in the 1 3/4 inch thick door. Because it is a left or a right, it's an in-swing, you need a longer cylinder, you need a longer spindle and screw package. But because it's an in-swing, you can use a standard strike. You don't need an extended lip strike. It is in-swing, which tells me that this, you're going to see this on the outside. This will be mortise to the jamb. Your door will sit here and will swing in this way, so you're going to see this part of the stop. I'm guessing that's how these are being installed. I have a laundry list of hardware, so I'm kind of guessing as to what they're actually going to use. I don't have a hardware set for the opening. But if it's an in-swing, you'll certainly see that portion, which would not really be ideal. I'd probably want to trim those off a little bit. If they were outswing, which they generally are, you wouldn't, of course, see any of that. And people will choose center hung pivots because the hardware is concealed. They'll choose a 593 because on a reverse bevel door, you won't see the hardware really at all, meaning we're observing the requirement, the design requirement, that it be mostly concealed. Let's take some basic dimensional properties. Overall length of the faceplate, 4.5. Overall width, about 1.5 inches. Overall projection, about 3/4 inch. Depth of the mechanism, looks like it's about 1 9/16 inches. The strike itself, just shy on 2 1/4. About 1 1/8 inches. Looks like it's about 1/8 of an inch thick, maybe just heavy on that. Let's now switch to the screen view where we can take a closer look at the supporting documentation. Here is the item that we are looking at, and let's start off with looking at what other finishes the manufacturer offers in this. They can do a 605 for polished brass, 606 satin brass, 612 satin bronze, 613 is oil rub bronze, 625 is polished chrome, 626 is satin chrome, BSP black suede powder coat. Because it's Rockwood, meaning they have capabilities of custom finishing, they could do antique nickel, they could do polished nickel, they could do white suede powder coat, they could probably do a polished bronze type color, even though this is made of brass. They're very capable. They're very open and agreeable to custom finishes. So let's look at the extended description. Roller latch with angle stop. That's your dimensional properties we've talked about. Made of cast brass, brass that has been cast, BSP. Screw package. Mounts in header with strike in top of door. Yes, that's not unusual to mount it up at the top. You'll also see it mounted down below as well. Pardon me, you'll also see it mounted near the lock location as well. Solid nylon roller for durable, silent operation. I wouldn't use the term silent. I would say muted, but not silent. I have had people complain about the sound of a roller latch. You know, I hear you. But if you want to own a car, you're going to burn fossil fuels, at least at this time. So be mindful, it's not silent. Simple adjustment for roller projection. That is by means of these two screws. Now, let's look at the template. And the template is as seen here. This is going to give you the dimensional properties that we've covered, but also will tell you how to mortise this item. And I'm seeing here okay, so I'm seeing a body preparation, a plate preparation, and then I'm seeing a strike preparation. So here's what we need to do. The body, and what I'm saying the body prep is going to be, we can see that we have the requirement of the length of the body, the width of the body, and the depth of the body. Then we have the requirement of the faceplate here, and then its thickness. So they're saying it's 1/8 of an inch thick. We know that it is 1.5 inches wide, and we know that it's 4.5 inches in length. So you have to prep the body and then prep the plate as well. The strike is 3/16 by 1 1/16 by the length of the strike, which is 2 1/4. And they're showing you where to place that mortise in the door So it's 9/16 to the center line of the roller latch from the push side of the door. That'll be considered the center line. And then at that point, you're simply going to line up the dimple that is in the strike itself, okay, with that center line of the roller latch. So you've got 9/16 of an inch from the center line, and then 1 1/16 wide. So at that point, you'll be able to determine, you've got half of an inch here is what I'm driving at. Okay, so if you have any questions on how to mortise that, please ask. Obviously, a router would be the way to go with that. Then there's the product brochure, and that's going to show us all of the roller latches from Rockwood. The 590, very typical, extremely common. The 590 with a double acting, why would you want this? Well, you have a center hung pivot set, and the door can double act. Closets, residential applications. When you order that DA strike, you do have to specify the jam depth so they know how to manufacture that. And specifically where to create that dimple. So a sketch is usually required when ordering a 590 DA. The 591 is the same as the 590, just with the 4 7/8 strike for a hollow metal frame. The 592 is the same as the 590, but with a T strike, a wood frame, very typical. And of course the angle 593 that we're going over now. And then this roller latch style, this is meant to fit into the edge prep of a standard cylindrical lock. That's called a 161, which means it's 2 1/4 by 1 1/8. Okay, you can order these strikes separately as well. So if you wanted to do a roller latch to fit into a hollow metal door and frame, you would use a 594, and then we're going to need to pick up the strike only from the 591. That's how that would work. If you're doing a wood door, conversely, you could do a 590. Well, if you're doing a wood door, you do a 590 body in a steel frame. You would then pick up this strike. Very typical and common piece of equipment. And just to touch base quickly on that center hung pivot concept, you have your door, you have your jamb, and that center hung pivot, the vertical axis of pivoting, is down in the center of the thickness of the door. And then it's a prescribed dimension from the edge of the door to that center line. Okay, so if this door swings out this way, you're going to mortise that roller latch right there, and then your strike is going to be in here. Okay, you're not going to see any of that hardware, although you will have to radius this over. I should say bullnose that corner so that when the door swings out, you won't have conflict here. Now, there's a link below this video here to the manufacturer's page. When we click on that, we can pull up not only all of the Rockwood products that we sell, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog, a very helpful document because the name Rockwood is quite synonymous with trim and auxiliary hardware. They also have their architectural door pull catalog here as well. It's about 100 pages worth of what would be considered most definitely made to order and what you could consider as custom door pulls. So if you're looking for long door pulls or push bars, this would be a tremendous catalog to review. Let's wrap up this video on camera. The name Rockwood is quite synonymous with many facets of the door and hardware industry, and in no particular order. Exceptional customer service and technical support. 1. 2, a extremely agreeable attitude when it comes to customization. I have requested from the factory that they help me with very customized flat plates, punched pieces of architectural metal that I have used in order to allow my other hardware to adapt to an unusual application. And they have been really tremendous about that. I've done, whether it be at a modern lock set over a door preparation where the function holes are from 1920, all the way to taking a very discontinued Rixson magnetic lock and converting it to something modern but needing a custom faceplate. They've been great. Give them dimensions of what to punch and drill and countersink, and they're very agreeable. I get the attitude from them that if they have the tooling, they're going to absolutely quote the project. If they have the resources and they have the equipment, they're going to happily help us out with those types of requests. In fact, there was a marketing release from Assa Abloy, the umbrella company, over McKinney, Sargent, Yale, Corbin, Russwin, Medico, Pemco, Hess, Adams Wright, and all their sister companies, that basically, hey, listen, you've got something custom that you want, send us a sketch. We'll be happy to quote it. A couple, 3 years ago, you weren't getting black because it wasn't available. Well, they did a great job at reacting to the marketplace, and it's not only Rockwood, but Rockwood's willingness to accommodate is noteworthy, and they do stand apart from other manufacturers as a result. If you have any questions on the 593 roller latch and a BSP black suede powder coat, and just a moment on black suede powder coat, I believe that black is the color. I believe that powder coat is the process, and that suede is a marketing term that defines the fact that there's like a texture on the material. Powder coating is painting, and it's done, and powder coating is an extremely durable process. It's where you paint with a gun, you spit or you spray paint at an item. Well, because it's not wet and doesn't stick to the surface of what you're spraying it against naturally, electric charge is used. So you literally will add a charge to the paint that you're pushing out of your sprayer, and the opposite charge, there's literally electricity running to that material. It's sitting on something that's conductive, that is receiving the opposite electric charge, so the paint sticks to it. And as a result of that process, it is very durable. But it is painting. If you were to take a can of spray paint and spray in an area, sooner or later you're going to get too much paint and it's going to start to have a texture. That's where the suede comes in. And it's a marketing term. So it does have a small amount of texture, but at 2 feet away, at 6 feet away, it looks black like anything else. But powder coating is really common within the industry. Not everything can be powder coated, like the inside of a cylinder, the face of a cylinder, because you've got the broaching. You can't fit the key blank in there after the fact. So not everything can be powder coated, but it's known to be a very durable process. And that's why they would very much use it on architectural hardware. Any questions on the 593 and a BSP or any other Rockwood product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you. Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up. Please subscribe and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.